We are live here with Stella Luna Yoga.
Hello.
Super excited to be getting the word out about what yoga is and how our school specifically, what our interpretation of yoga is, because there are so many interpretations out there about this path and so many misconceived ideas about what it is, that it's not just an asana practice, but that there is so much more to it. So I'm Stella.
And I'm Jessie.
And we're with Stella Luna Yoga School, which is a certification program as well as a school for the householder yogi, which is what we are. And today we're going to talk about the 8-limb path. In our previous videos, we've talked about what yoga is, why we believe that the whole practice is important, where it comes from the sutras. And today we're just giving a little overview of what each of the 8 limbs are. Each one of them are 12.5% of the path. So asana and the yoga movements that we so often see are just a small portion of what this practice really is.
Yeah, and the 8-limb path is outlined in the Yoga Sutras, and we talked about the Yoga Sutras last week. And, this path, these 8 limbs, they're all different or techniques or practices, observances, things to apply to your life to help you reach enlightenment or fulfillment, to be a happy and healthy human.
Right.
And so that movement, the asana, yes, to relieve us from our suffering, to enjoy the human experience.
Right.
And the movement, the asana, is just one limb, one part.
So we're just going to go down 1 through 8, and they can be practiced in this order. Definitely makes it simpler and possibly easier to release the suffering from your life, so that you know who authentically you are, but does not have to be in this order. So the first one, the first one are called the Yamas. And these are really just about like how to be a good person, like how to operate in the world when it's so easy to get frustrated or overwhelmed. There's so many opinions flying around that you don't know how to respond to people, so that, or others, right? It's like how we are operating in the macrocosm of the world.
Yeah, and there are different observances or restraints to take in our interactions with others and our interactions with the world. Things like being kind, telling the truth, speaking your truth. Simple things that we don't, but really important observances to take so that you can be a good person.
And we'll go into more of those later, but again, today is just like the overview of it. The second limb.
The next limb is the Niyamas, and I like to think of these as the Niyamas. So these are the observances to take for yourself and your relationship, your interaction with yourself. So like self-care practices, how to take care of yourself. And those are the Niyamas.
Right. And self-care is such a big hype word these days, right? Like, what is self-care? And this is really about like creating those structures and foundations for yourself so that you can, again, operate in the world. And then the third one, that's where we have our asana, which asana translates into seat or into pose, right? And that's where we get all of these awesome yoga poses and the physical practice. So taking care of the world around you and yourself, and then the physical aspect comes into play.
And then the next limb is pranayama, which is how to breathe. Okay, how to connect with this energy that, or harness the energy that animates us, the body, into life. Those are the breathing practices, and we got all different kinds of techniques and ways to breathe, and
so much to do there, right? Because
yes,
it's something that's happening voluntarily, and when you can, or involuntarily, and when you can voluntarily work with the involuntary, that's where we can like really make the magic, which is why we see so much more breath work happening and breath work certifications and things like that, really understanding that the breath, how important the breath is. Breath is life.
mm-hmm. And how you can use it to release chemicals into your bloodstream that are going to give you feelings of any pharmaceutical drug, right? You can provide that for yourself through your own breath and activating that within you. You can bring more energy in, or you can calm yourself down and put yourself to sleep. It's just magic. I love it.
Equally important is the next limb, which is called Pratyahara. And Pratyahara is about removing yourself, or like learning how to tune out from everything that's happening, because the chaos is always happening. There's always so much going on. It's easier to get distracted. So learning how to put yourself in a little bubble, or like pull yourself into your own space so that you can be less distracted.
Mm-hmm. And being aware of where your energy is, where is your attention going? This is something I've been practicing a lot lately, because I find myself on my phone quite a bit. And I'm like, oh, whoa, this phone, these apps, these social medias are taking quite a bit of my attention, my energy. And so I have to withdraw, those little antennas. Pratyahara has been on my mind. I'm like, okay, reel it back, Jesse. Bring my energy back to myself. Pratyahara.
Yeah. Again, equally important, right? This is the same 12.5% that's important as the asana or the pranayama, or how to be a good human in the planet, or how you're taking care of yourself. And then that's when we can get to dharana, or focusing, right? So once I've withdrawn myself and I know where my energy is going, then I can have a focus on one thing. So I'm doing one thing at a time, because the truth is that we can really only do one thing at a time. We're just getting really, really fast at like being able to switch our attention, like milliseconds into switching the attention, right? That's why like TikTok videos, they want you to get their attention within like 7 seconds or something like that, right? Like you might not even have lasted to watch this video because of the intro, right? Truth be told, right? Because it takes a minute to start live streaming and doing what we're doing. So if you've got this for pat on the back, you're doing fucking awesome.
Dharana.
Focus.
How to concentrate, how to focus.
Yeah.
And then the next limb is dhyana, which is how to meditate. How to find the space, the expanded awareness. Got to get really familiar of like right where you are with no attachments.
Yeah, meditation isn't necessarily like, there are stages of meditation, right? And we explain the different stages of meditation. And so often right now we're using guided meditation and visualization to get ourselves there, right? Which is amazing. That it's not about clearing our mind from space. It's about finding the space that's already in your mind. You already have space there. So much space. 95%, really. Space. Gray matter. Well, it's really, because the truth is that, you know, if you want to nerd out on it, like, we're made up of atoms, but atoms are such a really small piece, and the rest of it is really unknown, right? Like how we even operate is really sort of unknown. How this universe works is unknown. And so it's not about clearing that out. It's about being one with it, which leads us to our next
Samadhi. Samadhi, which leads you into that up-leveling of your consciousness.
Right. It's where we really begin to merge, where all is one, whether that we call that God, the universe, whether you have a guru like Jesus or Krishna or Allah, Jehovah. It's about understanding that there is a universal thread that has one connection. And it's tuning into that and being able to experience that connection. Because again, yoga itself, to yog, to unite, is an experience. Each one of these things can be practically applied into your life so that you have the actual knowledge, not just because somebody said it or heard it or did it or told you about it, but because you've had this experience in your life.
So you can see how the 8-limb path is really, it's the path to find that mind, body, spirit connection. Right? We hit them all.
We hit them all. So each one of those 12.5% come together to make 100% of what yoga is. And those are the 8 limbs.
And we'll dive deeper into each of them. And that's what our training does, is it really dives deep into how do we practically apply this into our daily life? You know, as in this modern world, how do we apply the yamas? How do we apply the niyamas? How do we learn to tune out? And that's what we practice. That's what our whole training is about, is just following this 8-limb path.
So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, to Jesse's YouTube channel, to Stella Luna Yoga's YouTube channel. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And don't forget to have the best day ever.